On that one day in September, it's the 1988 VFL Grand Final between Hawthorn and Melbourne. Can the Hawks prove that they are the best side in the competition after heading the ladder most of the year? Or will the Demons become the first team to take out the flag after coming from 5th spot? It's the Hawks' 6th Grand Final in a row and Melbourne's first in 24 years. Very good afternoon, everyone. From Melbourne on the Australian Television Network, we welcome you to our live and exclusive coverage of the 1988 VFL Grand Final between Hawthorn and Melbourne. At the Melbourne Cricket Ground at the moment, an absolute capacity crowd to see this finale to the 1988 season. The members' stand was packed at round about 10:30 this afternoon, and just about all the seats in the outer have now been taken. Truly it is, from above, a magnificent sight. Hawthorn is playing in its 6th successive Grand Final. Lost only 3 games during the year. They were to Carlton, Melbourne and Sydney. It defeated Carlton in the 2nd semi-final for a straight-through berth in today's game. Melbourne, on the other hand, finished 5th. It won the elimination final against the West Coast Eagles, the first semi-final against Collingwood by 13 points, and the preliminary final last week over Carlton by 22 points. As I said, the crowd certainly building up to probably what would be round about just on 100,000. And it really is going to be a superb day here at the Melbourne Cricket Ground. I should mention too that we did have a couple of showers of rain during the reserve grade competition. It won't really affect the ground, which is in superb condition, and you can see they're looking out towards the west and southwest. We might get a few more showers during the course of the day. Peter Donegan looks at Grand Final Day 1988.
Let's hope the rain rolls on, huh?
Dawn breaks over Melbourne, over the most famous sporting stadium in the nation. The day of days has arrived. Five hours before the bounce of the ball, but the faithful are turning up in their droves. The big clash drew ever closer and the fans were warming up.
Come on, let's go. Demons.
Just which captain is going to hold that cup aloft at round about 5:15 this afternoon. Everybody's busy here today at the MCG, and the pie sellers are doing a roaring trade. Ian Robertson and Peter McKenna preview the big game after this break. Welcome back to the Melbourne Cricket Ground and our telecast of Grand Final Day 1988. Our telecast going right around the world. It will be seen in many countries, including the United States and Canada. That's for the first time today at our national hookup. So a very good afternoon to Peter McKenna and Ian Robertson. Gentlemen, your thoughts on the big one?
Well, big day, isn't it, Pete? Big day.
Well,
been here a couple of times, haven't you?
It's a huge day. I've been here once in 1970, and you can see the Melbourne rooms there. We just saw a shot of the Hawthorn rooms before that. It's a huge day. I think it's a very, very big task in particular for Melbourne, Ian, because Hawthorn have been here 6 years in a row. A lot of those players have been together all that time. They've been through the mill. They're a very experienced side. I think that the nerves might get to a few of those Melbourne players. Do you see it that way?
Well, I do, Peter. I think that you can't beat experience, and Hawthorn, you've mentioned, have been here the 6th consecutive occasion. And look at the players that have been there on those occasions. Dippia Domenico, Brereton Tuck, Ayres, Langford, Mew. what a great lineup that they've got. I really believe that they should win comfortably. I think a lot depends on this Melbourne weather. If it doesn't rain, I think that Hawthorn will win convincingly. They've got a lineup up in the forward area with Brereton and Dunstall, and even John Kennedy comes in and kicks 3 or 4 goals in big matches. And a rover like Platten is tremendous.
Well, the Melbourne side, on the other hand, are not a real team of stars. They're just an honest, even goers, they are. Probably the key to their side is Wilson. If Wilson takes over in the centre, he can be a very, very inspiring player. They'll need White to do well at full forward. A big responsibility on Jimmy Steins in the ruck today against Greg Deere, because he's got his partner in crime out and Steve O'Dwyer. Johnson's had a magnificent season in the back pocket. I think the big pressure is going to be on the 2 guys in the key defence post. Danny Hughes playing on Dunstall. He doesn't like playing on quick moving forwards. That's if he lines up on him. Dersmer has beaten Kernahan. Can he beat Brereton if he lines up on him? There's the Hawks, so they fair dinkum. They're going to be very difficult to beat. I think they'll win by 4 or 5 goals.
Okay, thank you, Peter McKenna, and thank you, Ian Robertson. Hawthorn and Melbourne in the grand final. Drew Morfitt takes a look at the Hawks and the Demons.
After joining the VFL in 1925, Hawthorn was forced to wait until 1957 to make its finals debut, when the club beat Carlton in the first semi-final. In 1961, the Hawks made the finals again, in former captain John Kennedy's second year as coach. Kennedy drove his players hard, but the extraordinary workload paid off in the 61 grand final, when the Hawks ran away after half-time against Footscray to win its first flag. Since then, the floodgates have opened. In the 70s, the Hawks won 2 more with Kennedy and 1 with David Parkin, and during the 80s, they have continued their role as the VFL's pace-setters. Under Alan Jeans, they played in 5 consecutive grand finals, and now with stand-in coach Alan Joyce in charge, Hawthorn has the chance to win its 3rd flag in 6 years. On the other hand, Melbourne won 11 premierships before Hawthorn had won its first, but there is no question the Demons' halcyon years stretched for a decade from 1954. Under Norm Smith, the Demons made the grand final for 7 years on the trot, winning 5 premierships. But since taking out the 1964 pennant, Melbourne has mostly languished at the bottom of the ladder. A stunning revival last year took the Demons to within a kick of the grand final. However, the club was cruelly denied a place in the biggest match of all by this Gary Buckenara drop punt. Now the Demons are hell-bent on turning the tables on the Hawks.
The history of Hawthorn and Melbourne in finals. Hawthorn made the 4 first in 1957 when they defeated Carlton in a game here on the Melbourne Cricket Ground. A hailstorm fell in the 3rd quarter. The ground was white. Hawthorn won through on that occasion. They met Melbourne in a preliminary final.